Help me reach 7,000 subscribers. Please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback helps make the content better. She brushed past me on her way from the fridge like I was a coat rack. I reached for her waist, just a quick pull in after a long day at the shop, and she peeled my hand off like I'd touched a hot pan. "Don't," she said. "Not tonight. I'm not in the mood." "It's been 3 not tonights in a row," I replied, leaning against the counter. "Is there a different night I should apply for?" She shut the fridge with her hip. "Can you not make everything transactional?" "I'm tired." "Right," I said. "Tired." If I'd known where that tone was headed, I would have cleared a runway. But I didn't. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, the kind that turns smart men into doormats. We ate in silence. The chicken went cold. She answered one text under the table and pretended she hadn't. I let it slide. I told myself it was a phase. New projects at her office. Q2 crunch. Everyone gets stretched thin. I cleaned the pan, wiped the counter, took out the trash. She stayed in the living room, phone tilted away. When I sat down, I tried again. "You free Saturday?" I asked. "I booked that cabin north of the lake. 2 nights. No TV. Just us." She stared past me at the window. "That's really last minute." "It's Wednesday," I said. "We can pack Friday. I might have a yoga thing." She rubbed her shoulder. "And I'm not sure just us is what I need right now." "Good to know," I said, steady. "Because I need you to stop speaking to me like you're talking to a telemarketer. So here are my new rules for the cabin. I'll go either way. If you're in, great. If not, I'll take my fishing rods and my piece." She blinked. "That's dramatic." "No drama," I said, standing. "Just choosing where I put my energy." She looked down at her phone again. Whatever was on that screen was apparently more interesting than a weekend with her husband. I grabbed my keys and went to the garage. I needed the smell of motor oil more than I needed the smell of her lotion. The next morning she left early, not a word beyond coffee, and even that sounded rented, not owned. I kept my mouth shut. The cabin was refundable. My self-respect wasn't. I stuck to routine, hit the shop, handled customers. Around noon, my foreman, Pete, looked over a hood and gave me the side eye. "You look like you slept on gravel," he said. "I slept in my own bed. Must be some bed." He didn't push, and I appreciated it. Guys like Pete know when to talk and when to hand you a wrench. That night, I tried again. "I'm not a therapist. I'm a man who owns a small business and can fix a carburetor blindfolded, but I can ask a straight question. What's going on with you?" I asked after she slid her plate away. "You've been distant. Head in a different room, even when you're here." She licked her lip, buying time. "I'm overwhelmed. I told you, we're launching a new package. Mike's writing me." "Mike," I repeated. "Your project lead." "Yeah. Does Mike like just us weekends?" I asked it like a joke, kept my voice light. Her eyes flashed. "That's not funny." "It wasn't meant to be," I said. "It was meant to have an answer." She pushed back from the table. "You're making me feel policed. It's suffocating." "Not my goal," I replied. "My goal is clarity. We can do time constraints, sure, but we can't do mystery." She grabbed her bag. "I'm going for a drive." "Take your time," I said. "I'll be in the garage. That way I can't suffocate you." The door clicked. The house exhaled. I stared at the empty chair across from me and thought about 20 small things from the last month I'd ignored. A new passcode on her phone, late nights labeled Team Sync, the sudden way she laughed at her screen and then flipped it over when I walked in. I told myself I wouldn't play detective. I'd play man. That meant setting terms, not snooping around like a teenager. So I started with something simple. I split our calendar. I erased my name from her social commitments, canceled the cabin, and booked a solo weekend at the fishing lodge for next month. I moved some money from our joint checking into my business account where it belonged. No drama, no memo, just logistics. When she came back, I was shining a torque wrench. She stood in the doorway of the garage, took in the clean floor, the labeled bins, my arms black with grease. She used to say the place was calming. Now she looked like the smell offended her. "You canceled the cabin?" she said. "Yes." "Because I needed space?" "No. Because I need to stop begging for your time." "That's petty." "Call it a policy change," I said. "I'm done chasing." She opened her mouth, closed it, shook her head, and wandered back inside. I heard the shower. Later, when I went up, the bathroom smelled like eucalyptus and a new shampoo I hadn't seen before. She was already in bed, turned away, phone glowing under the covers. I turned off my lamp and lay there. 2 inches of mattress might as well have been a state line. The following afternoon, she texted me at the shop. Dinner at my sister's on Sunday. Be nice. It landed like an order. 2 words back. Can't. Booked. 5 minutes later. Booked what? Grocery delivery. Meal prep. Couple small things I should have done earlier. She didn't reply. I scheduled the delivery just so it wasn't a lie. That's what men do when they decide to stop asking. Make sure the facts match. Sunday came, and with it my first proof that the distance wasn't random. At 9 a.m., she strolled into the kitchen in a soft sweater and a fresh blowout. I was chopping vegetables. She smelled like a department store sample. You're really skipping my sister? She asked, annoyed and surprised in equal measure. You sent an order, I said. I declined. Try an invitation next time. This matters to me. What counts to me is respect, I answered. If you want me there, you ask. If you want a prop, order one online. She took a breath and shifted gears. This was the first softening. Okay, she said. I'm asking. Would you come? She's had a rough week. It'd be good to show up as a team. I put the knife down. Better. Please. Better still. So you'll come. I'll stop by for an hour, I said. But I'm driving separate. And I'm leaving when I'm done. She nodded like she'd won. I let her keep the ribbon. It wasn't a war trophy. It was a calendar entry. Her sister, Kelly, lives in a 3-bedroom with a trampoline out back and a husband who collects novelty bottle openers. The moment we walked in, my wife switched on a bright version of herself I hadn't seen in months. She laughed too loudly. She squeezed my arm for show. She swapped stories like an anchor on local news. Kelly caught me in the kitchen near the chips. She's blunt by nature. You two okay? She asked, keeping her voice low. Define okay, I said. She's been different, Kelly said. A lot of nights out with work friends. I didn't buy all of it. Noted. My wife breezed in with a wine glass. You two gossiping about me? She chirped. Always, I said deadpan. I just told your sister I'm the difficult one. Kelly snorted. My wife's smile was stretched tight. I checked my watch. In the living room, Kelly's husband, Rob, turned on the game. The couch became a small island. My wife perched on the arm and scrolled, then leaned down. Can you not be so aloof? She whispered. It's embarrassing. Be clear, I replied. Do you want me here as a guest or as a set piece? She pulled back. Forget it. Already done, I said and stood. Kelly, thanks for the invite. Rob, enjoy the game. I left without ceremony. Outside, the afternoon had that burn yellow light that makes everything honest. I drove to the shop and did inventory, which was somehow less lonely than pretending in a living room. That night, she came home quiet. I expected a blow-up. Instead, she placed a bowl of soup in front of me while I balanced the books at the kitchen table. I made extra, she said. You looked wiped earlier. That was her second softening. Gentle, practical, almost kind. I tasted the soup. It was good. This is nice, I said. I didn't like how today felt, she murmured. We need to find our rhythm again. We do, I agreed. And rhythm loves boundaries. Meaning? Meaning I'm done with spontaneous orders. I'm not your plus one by default. Ask. I'll answer. That's phase one. Her eyes narrowed. Phase one of what? Of respecting each other, I said, spoon suspended. Phase two is phones face up at home. If I can't do it, I'll say why. You can too. We don't need to police. We need to remove doubt. That's intrusive. That's transparent. She touched my forearm. Can we not turn our home into a policy manual? I'd prefer not to, I said. But your behavior forced the issue. She pulled her hand back, light gone. Thanks for the soup, I added, and got up for water. On my way past, I flipped my phone face up next to the salt. She glanced at it like it contained a snake. 2 days later, she declared the new rules controlling. She said she couldn't breathe. She said she needed space. The words landed in the entryway as she zipped up a weekender bag. A pause, she called it, standing with the strap across her chest. I need to figure out if this is even what I want. Lately it feels like a cage. I must have missed the lock, I replied, hand on the banister. You come and go as you please. I want to be sure about you, she said. About us. I'm sure about me, I answered. I don't live in cages. I live in houses where people choose each other. She stared at the door, then at me. I'm going to my friend Addie's. A week. No pressure. We'll talk after. Do me one favor, I said, calm as a flat lake. Turn off your location sharing if you're going to pretend I'm a warden. You switched it off anyway. I don't know you tracking, she snapped. You owe me honesty, I replied. But sure, call it a retreat. Her jaw clenched. She walked out. The door shut. The house changed shape. I watched the taillights disappear and felt something click into place, the way a socket finds a bolt. I didn't pace. I didn't rattle glasses. I didn't call friends to collect opinions. I made 2 calls. One to my bank, one to a private investigator whose number I'd kept from a client who'd used him to catch siphoned inventory. The bank heard. I need to separate business funds and pause external transfers. The investigator heard. I need to know how my wife spends the next 7 days. Only facts. No gossip. Clear photos. I don't want your theories. Send me time-stamped entries. Keep it legal. Bill me. He asked for her photo, her car, her usual haunts. I provided. I hung up and swept the garage floor like it owed me a secret. Day 1, silence. Day 2, I left town for the morning to pick up a used lift, texted my foreman I'd be back by lunch. On my way, I got a ping, an email from the investigator with a secure link. 3 entries. Her car at a downtown restaurant I knew from office parties. A grainy shot of her at a table with a man whose shape fit too well with a name I'd already said out loud. Another of the 2 walking out to the sidewalk, close enough to share a jacket. I stared. The photos weren't obscene, they were worse. They were ordinary. His hand on the small of her back. Her head tilted up. A posture that says, I have a home, but I'm living here. I forwarded nothing, texted no one. I read the investigator's caption. Subject with male coworker, identified via LinkedIn profile, Michael H. Duration, 2 hours 10 minutes. Departure in separate vehicles. Later entry. Subject's vehicle located at male coworker's apartment complex. Timestamps didn't care about my marriage. Day 3. More shots. Coffee in the morning. A walk at lunch. At 8:13 p.m., her car in his lot again. The email had a video clip from across the street. She laughed at something by the stairwell and took his hand like she'd done it 100 times. That was my kill turn. My line snapped, and with it every excuse I'd given her. I called my attorney. I kept it straight. File, I said. No theatrics. I'll handle the house. Draft a straightforward division. She keeps her car, her personal accounts. Everything else stays mine. We've kept separate business books. I want it clean and fast. You sure? He asked. I've never been surer, I said. I can have papers ready within 2 days. I'll pick them up. I spent the next hours moving. Not packing, moving. I changed the passwords on my utilities. I removed her as an authorized user on my cards. I cataloged joint items and separated out what she'd brought into the house. A few pieces of furniture, wall prints, some kitchen gadgets she loved. I put them in the guest room so she wouldn't claim I threw her out with nothing. My bed stayed mine. My garage stayed mine. My plans became mine again. Day 4 came with another email. I didn't open it. I didn't need more proof. Proof wasn't for me anymore. Proof was for paperwork. Pete noticed the difference. You're not carrying your shoulders like a car jack anymore, he said in the shop. You good? I'm awake, I replied. He nodded. Good. We got 2 break jobs and a scheduled alignment. Let's keep it moving. I kept my mouth shut to customers and neighbors. I stopped wearing my ring. I slept in the guest room and stripped our bed to wash the sheets alone. When I answered texts from her that said, thinking, and let's connect Sunday, my responses were monosyllables. Not out of pettiness, out of clarity. On day 7, the investigator texted his final entry. Subject returned to marital home midday with small suitcase. I didn't reply. I went upstairs and sat at my desk where the papers lay in a manila folder. Everything was ready. She walked in it too. She tried a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her hair was arranged like a second chance. She set her bag down and crossed the room like we were reenacting a movie. I did a lot of thinking, she started, hands folded like she'd practiced the scene. I realized I can't do life without you. I love you. I'm sorry for the distance. I got lost in my head. But I'm here. I let the silence run. She waited. She tilted her head, puzzled. Maybe hug me, she added, like a line read. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out low and clean, not from a place of hurt, but from the absurdity of it. She looked stunned. She tried to chuckle with me. That's a strange reaction, she said. You happy I'm back or what? I stopped laughing and studied her like I study a bent rim. "Mike dump you?" I asked. Her face went off like a fire alarm. Panic for a split second, then the performance. "What? Who's Mike?" "My boss." "What are you talking about?" "Right," I said. "It must be a different guy who holds your hand on 4th Street." "That's ridiculous," she said too fast. "You think a meeting means something?" "Meetings usually don't end with a visit to the same apartment complex 3 nights in a row," I replied. "But maybe your company does things differently." "What are you even saying?" She stepped back, palms up. "This is paranoid. You're making a scene." "No scenes," I said, and I walked to the dresser. I pulled the envelope from the top drawer and took out the prints the investigator had included. Her with him at a table, leaned in. Her with him on a sidewalk. Her car in his lot. I laid them on the bedspread like receipts. She stared, eyes scanning for a loophole. "That's a work dinner," she tried. "We were with clients. They just stepped away." "In the parking lot?" I asked, voice flat. "We're neighbors," she bluffed. "He lives across town," I said. 10 miles. Nice complex. Beige stucco. Bad lighting." Her mouth opened, closed. She reached for tears and found none, then found too many. "Call him," she blurted. "Call him right now. He'll tell you. He'll explain." I didn't answer. I just looked at her. The more she stammered, the clearer it got. It wasn't about morals. It was about options. She thought I'd be the safe one. I handed her a second envelope, the manila one. She touched it like it might burn. "What's this?" "Straightforward papers," I said. "I'm making this easy. Your car is yours. Your personal savings are yours. The rest stays where it belongs. You can start fresh with whatever story you need. And I'll start clean." Her eyes filled. "You can't be serious." "I'm serious," I answered. "I'm done living like a placeholder." She hugged herself. "After everything? You won't even try?" "I tried," I said. "For months. I made rules. You called them cages. Then you walked right into one of your own making." She sank on the edge of the bed. The carefully arranged hair was falling out of its plan. "Please," she whispered. "Don't do this." I stared at the photos, then at her. "I wish you hadn't made me," I said. "But you did." She wiped her face and stood, hands shaking. "It was a mistake," she said. "It was a moment. It meant nothing. I was stupid. You were methodical," I corrected. "And I'm not interested in living with methodical disrespect." Just don't end us," she said, voice cracking. "I am," I replied. "And you're going to pack." She looked at the closet, at the drawers, at the empty space where the future had been. For a second I saw regret, not because she'd lost me, but because she'd lost the safest arrangement she'd ever find. She started stuffing clothes into a bag. Between handfuls, she kept talking, like words could shovel out a hole big enough to crawl back through. "Maybe I can stay a few days while I figure it out," she said. "Hotels are expensive. You can stay at your friend Addie's," I replied. "You've done it for a week." She froze and turned around. "You followed me?" "I hired someone to watch," I said, and kept my voice flat. "After you announced a pause, I decided I preferred facts to anxiety." "That's twisted." "What you did is twisted," I said. "This is clarity." She packed faster. At one point, she held up a framed photo of us on a pier. She looked at it like it should change something. Then she set it down. "I never wanted to hurt you," she murmured. "You wanted options," I replied. "Now you have an option I made for you." She wheeled her suitcase to the door. Before she left, she tried one more move, deeper than the first two softening attempts, the kind of last-ditch warmth people splurge when the bill hits the table. "I do love you," she said, eyes bright, voice soft, like the beginning of us. I got scared. I don't know why I did what I did. "You did it because you could," I said. "Because I made it easy. That's over." Her face hardened. She reached for the doorknob, then stopped. "I'll fight you," she said. "I'll take my share." I smiled without humor and pointed at the folder. "Read the terms. You'll find I've been generous. You had your comfort here. You traded it for an impulse. I won't make you pay double." She stood there a second too long. That's when I gave her the last line, the one that sealed it. "You said our home felt like a cage," I said quietly. "I'm opening the door. Fly where you want." She flinched, nodded once, and rolled the suitcase out. The door closed behind her, softer than I expected. The house didn't cheer. It just settled, like a body relaxing after a long drive. The next weeks moved like clean gears. Papers filed. Keys returned. Her name taken off every bill. I kept my schedule, tightened my radius. I stopped scanning rooms for her reaction. The shop did well because my head was where my hands were. I ran into one of her co-workers, Sam, at the hardware store, a guy with a nervous laugh and a decent handshake. He hovered near the sandpaper. "Hey man," he said. "We miss your wife at the Friday lunches." "Do you?" I asked. He swallowed. There was chatter about her and, you know. "I know," I said. "She's got her path. I've got mine." He nodded too much. For what it's worth, a lot of us saw it, but we kept out of it. Didn't seem like our place. "It wasn't," I said. "Have a good one." At the shop, Pete noticed I'd started staying late to build a cedar canoe in the back, frame by frame, plugging the outside noise with sawdust and a playlist that never changed tempo. He watched me fit strips into the stem and leaned on a post. "That thing gonna float?" he asked. "Absolutely," I said. "And when it does, I'm taking it somewhere quiet." "You always were methodical," he said. "In a good way." "I stopped being methodical at home," I said. "Not anymore." He nodded. "You want a hand with the sanding?" "I got it," I said. "I want to feel this one myself." A month out, I signed the final papers at my attorney's desk. Simple pen. No speech. He slid me a copy and shook his head. "Quickest one I've seen in a while," he said. "You made it easy." "I made it clear," I answered. "Those aren't the same thing." He smiled. "Most people mix them up. Kelly texted me once." "I heard," she wrote. "I'm sorry." "Me too," I replied. "Take care of yourself, Kel." She didn't argue. She didn't defend her sister. That told me she'd seen enough. When the decree arrived, I put it in a drawer with my passport and the title to my truck. That night, I slept in my bed again, alone, and the mattress didn't feel like a tribunal. It felt like a place to lie down. I wish I could say I didn't think about her. That would be posturing. Sometimes when I filled the coffee maker, I'd remember how she used to hum for no reason in the mornings. Sometimes when I turned off lights, I'd feel the absence like a draft. But nostalgia isn't a reason to accept disrespect. It's just a bad painter trying to retouch a wall that needs replacing. I bought a used Harley from a guy who was moving to Florida and spent Saturdays in the lot behind the shop swapping out parts one didn't trust. On Sundays, I took the canoe to the reservoir at dawn and pushed off in a slow glide no one could interrupt. I stopped drinking the cheap beer I kept around because she liked a certain brand and started buying good rye, one bottle at a time, mostly for guests. The TV didn't watch me anymore. A buddy at the gym introduced me to his cousin, Lauren. She runs a catering company and talks like someone who understands schedules. We had coffee, then we had pizza, then we didn't label anything at all. I kept my expectations low and my standards high. She didn't ask me to be anything but steady. I like that. My ex. I got two updates I didn't ask for. One came from Sam, who wandered into the shop again needing new brake pads. "How's your department?" I asked, hands inside a wheel well. He grimaced. "Tense. There's been fallout. He cleared his throat. "She, and you know him?" It fizzled after HR started sniffing around about team boundaries. "Office romance has a short warranty," I said. "Guess so," he mumbled. The second update came from Kelly. She sent a single line months later. She moved in with a friend for now. No plea. No explanation. Just a fact. I didn't reply. There was nothing to say. Financially, I stayed in the black. She left with her car and her personal savings. The house stayed mine. The shop grew by two new clients who came in off the lake after hearing about the canoe from a guy at the bait shop. Life did what life does when you stop feeding it drama. It got simple and good. Sometimes, a neighbor will see me washing the truck and ask if I'm seeing anyone. I tell them I'm seeing sunlight, sawdust, and my own time. I tell them I'm not closed to the idea of someone, but I'm not in a hurry. I'm not chasing. I'm not auditioning. People think the hardest part is leaving. It isn't. The hardest part is refusing to trade your dignity for a peace that never comes. Once you stop negotiating terms with someone who doesn't play fair, the rest is logistics. She came back after a week and performed love like a scene she memorized. I laughed, not because I don't believe in forgiveness, but because I believe in respect more. When I asked if Mike had let her go, I already knew. The photos weren't about catching anyone. They were about catching myself up to the truth. If I believed her show that day, I'd still be checking her phone glow from the corner of my eye, wondering which version of her was real. Now I sleep 8 hours. I ride on Saturdays. I press clean cedar into shape and take it out on the water before the sun attracts company. I shake hands with customers and mean it. And when I look in the mirror, I don't see a man who got fooled. I see a man who stopped being convenient. You want a final line? When she stood at the door and asked me not to throw away what we had, I told her the only sentence that felt accurate. I'm not throwing anything away, I said. I'm taking back what never should have been yours to spend in the first place, my time. She left. I didn't chase. The door closed and stayed closed. That's not anger. That's maintenance. I used to wonder how long I would have kept trying if she hadn't asked for a pause. Maybe months. Maybe years. That week was a gift wrapped in a lie. It gave me proof, and proof gave me direction. The rest was a pen stroke and a suitcase. It's funny how simple the end looks when you stop pretending the middle was complicated. I'm not bitter. I'm not on a crusade. I'm just doing what I should have done when she first peeled my hand off her hip with that tired little, "not tonight." I'm choosing where I put my energy. And I'm saving a seat in the canoe, not for someone to complete me, but for someone who respects that I'm complete already. When I'm ready, I'll notice who wants to paddle, not hitch a ride. That's the plan. That's enough.